What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Adam. It's hashtag rebound, day number 10, and I think the topic of today is where to go from here. And the video I uploaded the other day, for some reason, that video took 3.5 hours to upload and for YouTube to process it. For some reason, I don't know why. When I ran the speed test from Oakley, that anybody can download the app and run on their phone, or you can go to the website. It showed my upload speed here is 40 megabits per second, which is pretty high. It's pretty fast. So that tells me that YouTube was having issues on their end, and hopefully that doesn't happen today, but it really doesn't matter because the video will post today at some point. It does happen from time to time. I've noticed that since I've been doing these videos for a while. So I don't really have any specific updates, but I looked at the comments that you guys left the other day. And so I'm just going to do an episode here of responding to your comments, talking about a few things, and just kind of, setting a direction of where I'm going to go from here, what I've been working on over the last, I believe it's been, Rebound Day 10. I did take a few days to unwind and to relax. I have been in Texas now for, I do have it written down right here. I've been in Texas, counting today, 16 days. 4 of those days, I'm saying 6 of those days, I was pretty much out of commission. The day that I posted the video that was titled Rebound Day 1, that was the first day that I was actually starting to get into a rhythm and, being productive and doing, productive things, whatever the case may be. And, 16 days I've been in Texas. 10 of those days have been productive. I'm counting the day that I arrived in Texas as one of those days of the 16, and I didn't get here until about 7 o'clock at night after a 14-hour drive that day. I'm pretty sure, because with the time, it was 14 hours driving. The first day, I ended up in Pittsburgh. That was between picking up the rental car and everything else. I got to Pittsburgh around 7 o'clock at night. Left Pittsburgh around 8 in the morning, I want to say. On the Tuesday that week, ended up in Mississippi at about 9:30 at night. I think that was a 14-hour day of driving. 14 hours of driving along with the brief stops that I made for gas and food. From there, I believe it was something like 12 hours left to get to here where I am in Texas. And so, day 1 was 7 p.m. arrival. And so the next 5 days, the next 4 days after I arrived were done. I was wiped out. I sat on a couch and watched Star Wars shows, and I ate meals that were salad kits and were basically dump food in bowl, eat food, or dump food in bowl, put in microwave, eat food. That is pretty much it. I was completely done. The stress, the release of stress, the toxins of that stress going through my body, all of that stuff was just crazy. Let's see. So the day I arrived, the 4 days of inactivity, that added up. And it wasn't until Tuesday the following week I had to drive into Houston to do some stuff. And when I came back from that, I was just starting to kind of figure things out, if you will. And so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I would say that Tuesday was the first day that I started being productive and started counting. That was the day I posted the hashtag rebound day one, because I figure this is the first day that I'm actually starting to put a life back together. Between leaving Jamestown and that day was just about getting here, and just for the first time in over 2 years, I got to sleep as much as my body wanted me to sleep, and just got to relax, and I needed it. I needed that, and it can't even tell you how good that's been. And every day since, it's been each day has been getting more productive and better. I've become more relaxed each day. The stress is leaving. It's all good things. So I'm going to read some of these comments because they just jump into what I was going to talk about anyway, so I can answer some of your questions, respond to some of your comments here, and that's pretty much all I'm going to do with this video, however long it takes. It might take a few minutes, but A Beamer 2861, how you doing? One of the regulars here on the channel. This is what he had to say. Good to see you again, Adam. As you said, you look a little overwhelmed because of the load of work in different areas you have in front of you. And yeah, I mean, I am a little overwhelmed, but that feeling has improved on a daily basis, and I think it will just continue to do so. And another part of that is, even if none of this had happened, the arrest, if all this stuff that happened to bring me where I got in life had never happened, I'd probably still feel overwhelmed about something. I had a pretty intense career. There were always things going on. There were always things on my plate. And there's a lot of times in my life I always feel overwhelmed just because I have a lot of things in front of me, and there's no way you can accomplish everything you want to do, and you have to prioritize it and work on what you can get done. He says, bring God back into your daily routine and you'll see the difference. Definitely agree with that. On my side, I enjoy hearing your life stories. If you start sharing about your experience in prison, those would be very interesting and highly informative videos. That's what I would like to hear, as I am not so much into the computer software programming thing. When you share your videos about the time you were an inmate, make sure that you plan to share publicly about your stories and of people involved and things that happened that would not get you in trouble. And the thing I can say to that is, when you're in prison, one of the things, I did keep a journal when I was in prison. Every single day from the first day I was in there, I documented what was going on. And when somebody sees you writing something down, when you're in prison or in jail, they get super paranoid and they'll come at you about this. I got confronted numerous times by people thinking that I was a snitch because I'm writing things down. Everybody in prison watches everything that everybody else is doing on a microscopic level. I mean, how many times you go to the bathroom, and when you go to the bathroom, and what you buy when you go to commissary, and I'm telling you, how you tie your shoes. Like, people are paying attention to every single thing that you do on the most microscopic, minuscule level that you can imagine. So in my case, the only trouble that I would be worried about getting into would be some gang member hunting me down for saying something about someone who's in prison. But I never wrote anything down that other people were doing in that regard, or their names or anything about them. This was my journal, and it was about my experience. And I did talk a lot about what the guards were doing and the conditions that we were living under. And part of that was for my lawyer, to let her know how harsh some of the conditions were that I was being subjected to, and her other clients are being subjected to. So let's say in the case of Puff Diddley, he's being housed in the Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Center, and it is a notoriously bad, if not one of the worst places in all of the United States to be locked inside of. This is not a comment about whether he does or doesn't deserve what's happening to him. All I'm saying is that several federal judges are refusing to send defendants to this place because of the inhumane conditions in this facility. I just found out yesterday that the other facility in New York City, the Manhattan Corrections building that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself in, that place was shut down because it was so bad. And this place in Brooklyn is on the same level, if not worse, than what he was living in. And so, whatever happens to Puff Diddy, he's in for a rough ride. And if the guards, hang him up by a bed sheet and call it a day, it's not going to surprise me in the least. That place is out of control. Put it this way. When I got there, I had to spend over a month in that building. And when I got there, they gave me one uniform and one fucking pair of underwear. And I had to wear that same pair of underwear and this uniform every day for over a month. During that month, at one point, there was a period of about 7 days where we were locked in our 8-foot by 10-foot cell for the entire 7 days. I think we were allowed to go take a shower 1 hour out of the 7 days that I was locked in that cell. I'm not kidding. I read about 7 or 8 books, novels, when I was in that cell because I had a cellmate who had a stack of books, and that kept me from going insane. I think I read 7 or 8 Daniel Silva books during that week alone, being locked in that cell for 7 straight days without even being able to walk around on the housing block. One time allowed to take a shower in 7 days. And the showers were ice cold, the dirtiest things you can possibly imagine. The boxer shorts that they had given me, the one pair of underwear I had, were 3 sizes too big. I had to tie a knot in the waistband just to keep them from falling down. Kind of like the chicks used to do to their shirts back in the 80s, where they'd tie the bottom of their shirt in a knot, just to get the waistband of these things to fit. And these were probably used underwear that were worn by 30 other people before they were given to me. You want to know how many stories I can share about that place if I had 6 hours to talk about it? And I was only there for a month. A little over a month, maybe a month and a week. Anyway, A. Beamer, he says, you are smart. Also find a biblical church to go every Sunday. The community of born-again Christians would help you in so many ways. The dual connection with the Lord and with his people is sweet and meaningful. And I agree with that. I had a great time in Jamestown with the church that I went to there. I don't even know if I talked about the last day of church when I was in Jamestown, but it was one of the craziest coincidences of the entire homeless experience. It was like a going away dinner, unbeknownst to me, and it had nothing to do with me going away. But when I walked into the sanctuary, all the pews had been removed and been replaced with big round tables, and the pastor decided to try doing this community communion celebration and do communion in the way that Jesus would have done communion back in the day during Passover, where just groups of people would get together and have dinner together and worship God that way. And instead of this like ceremonial, here's your cup and here's your bread, it was like a Passover dinner. It was really cool. But it was like a going away dinner for me because it was my last day in Jamestown. The next morning I was gone. So one difficult thing here where I'm located at my friend's house, he's in a very tucked away cul-de-sac away from the main drag in town. And it's quiet here, and that's great. But there's only one way in and out of this place. Whether you're driving, walking, bicycling, whatever, there is only one way to get out of here and get back to the main drag in town. And it's 3 miles from the door here to the main intersection where, there's businesses and things going on. And that's just 3 miles to the main road. And so churches, I really haven't found a church that I can walk to yet. And, you know, I haven't found any churches that I felt like I could be comfortable with that are a reasonable distance. I'm looking for something I could walk to, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I got to get a bicycle put together. You know, my friend and his family, they go to church, but I don't know how regularly they do, and they both work a lot on the weekends right now. So that is probably, that's put a damper on, you know, how many weekends they go to church in a month. And so it's something I'm working on, and I think it'll just fall into place when it's supposed to fall into place. The church that they go to sounds like a really cool spot, but I think it's 10 miles away. So for me, it would be a bicycle ride until I get a vehicle. And so A Beamer, he continues, and yes, there are many like me who would watch you talking while you fold your laundry in your room or make coffee in the morning. Why? Because somehow you became part of our lives. And, you know, I appreciate that. I am definitely done folding clothes. I tried on everything I owned that I brought with me and sorted it out. I've got a few bags to go to the Goodwill. I've got a few, I threw away some worn out stuff, and everything in the closet is nice and organized. All my socks are folded. The probation officer had to inspect my living conditions here. And when he opened up the closet, he was like, wow. He's like, you're really organized. And he's like, man, all your socks are folded nice and neat. Wow, I wish I was as organized as you. And honestly, that helped a little bit. You know, the more I get to know this guy, the friendlier he keeps getting with me. And I've only been here for, I've only known him for a little over a week, and I've met with him twice. And these were the mandatory meetings that I have to do, that he has to do by law. And from here, it's going to be more infrequent, me just having to fill out a form online once a month and, you know, answer phone calls and questions from time to time. But he even told me today, he's like, I really don't see, you know, I don't really see the need to have to, you know, ride you, or, you know, he didn't say these exact words, but he basically told me he's not going to be up my ass all the time. Just go find a job, do your thing, you know, stay out of trouble. We're not going to have any issues. And so that felt really good. But yeah, becoming part of all of your lives, wow, that's, you know, like I said, when I started doing these videos, I never thought this was going to go anywhere. I thought maybe 50 people at the most would watch them. You know, I didn't think people would pay much attention to it, and that was not the case. So I appreciate all of the support and all of the friendships, the virtual friendships that we've got going on here, and I'm not going to throw that away. But, you know, I'm still in this transition period of figuring out exactly what to do with this channel and where to take it next and to continue to grow from here. Because part of the reason I'm doing this is to document, you know, I hit rock bottom the day I became homeless. That's the lowest point in my life I've ever been, other than going to prison. And you can't, you know, I mean, you can do YouTube from prison, but that's a story for another day. But there are people doing it. So anyway, I appreciate all the support. I want to be useful to the people who watch the channel at some point. You know, every day I've been here in Texas has been more productive than the day before, and I've shed a ton of stress, including this morning. The stress has been so intense that my whole body aches from it. And as the layers of stress shut off, it's like it's a body level event. Like, I'm just achy and sore, as in like I just played soccer for, you know, I just played a soccer match, and 2 days later I'm just all achy and sore from it. That's what it feels like when these layers of stress leave. I started taking hot baths every couple of days, and I sat here one day. There's a bathtub in the bathroom that I'm using, and I realized, I'm like, it's been over 2 years since I was able to take a bath and sit in a hot bathtub. And the benefits are profound in how that gets rid of the body aches and the stress leaving my body and just the muscle soreness and all of that. And so this is going to be a process, because there's layers of this I'm going through. It's like peeling an onion. There's just layers to the stress. And as each level lifts, you find another layer and another layer. And so, but honestly, the best way to deal with it, at least from where I'm sitting, is to move the ball forward. If there's something bothering me because I need to get something done, the best way to get over that stress is to get the thing done, or at least work on the thing to move it forward. Because sometimes, you need more than a day to do certain things. So anyway, PG Food Channel says, I hope this YouTube channel will start to make you some money to give you the incentive of doing these videos more frequently. I did get my very first YouTube payment this month. In fact, I think it was 3 days ago. It's about $130 for the months of July and August combined, because I had to go through that whole process of getting verified by YouTube and verifying my bank account, my address, my driver's license, all that stuff. They sent me a thing in the mail with a PIN number on it, and I had to enter that PIN number into a form, and it's a pretty convoluted. It's more difficult to get verified by Google AdSense than it is to open up a bank account online. But I got it done, and it magically all fell into place before I left Jamestown. In fact, it fell into place before the end of August, on the very last day of the month. So I felt like that was just a sign from above that God's taking care of things. It's just one of the synchronicity things. This thing was supposed to take several weeks to show up in the mail, and it took less than a week. And it was all said and done, and it was out of my hair. And all I had to do was wait. YouTube generally makes their payments on the 20th of the following month after the previous month is closed out. And so, it's not a ton of money, but it definitely helps. I mean, that's a couple of grocery trips right there. So that's 2 months worth of Adobe software subscription payments. So you have to have, I won't get a payment next month, because you have to have at least $100 in your account before they will pay out the following month. And I can definitely blame the fact that I haven't uploaded every day this month for not hitting that mark. I took a big hit on the algorithm when I stopped the daily post routine. But I don't feel like it's going to be real difficult to get into a routine again. I don't know if it'll be every single day. It's going to be different. I have a lot more going on now that I have a home base and I'm working on multiple things. I had more free time being a homeless guy in Jamestown than I do having, a home base here in Texas. But I'm definitely out of crisis mode, but I still have a daunting amount of work in front of me to get my life moving forward again. And sometimes it feels overwhelming. Cynthia Gibson 6793 says, it's not easy to start one's life over again. From a fellow former refugee. I mean, that's exactly what I just said. So I can definitely, this is not an experience I've ever had until I had it. And it's not easy. It's not easy. I think anybody in my shoes, especially if you've never had, real difficulty in life, whether it was brought on by your own stupidity or other reasons, you're going to find putting things back together after, when I was a little kid, the house I was living in burned to the ground, and we had to start over, completely over. I think the only thing that we had were the clothes we were wearing and the things we were carrying that day. I think I was 3 years old, but I remember it. It was that traumatic that as a 3-year-old that stuck in my head. I remember the vivid details of coming home from where we were to seeing the house in flames and the fire department trying to put it out. Anyway, it's hard to start life over when you hit rock bottom like that. I know it took my mom years to come back from that. Copious amounts unknown, 8897. Adam, you are doing great. Thumbs up. Keep your focus on creating a new life for yourself. You mentioned that you have a journal from the 20 months of BS you endured and thousands of papers from the court and sentencing. Write that book. Good to see you again. You hang in there. Another day and another prayer sent up for you. Looking forward to looking forward to probably more video updates when you find the time. So thankful you are out of Jamestown and now have a roof over your head. God bless your friend for helping you. Yeah, I'm out of the homeless shelter and I'm hanging out with my friend. And even though I don't have this curfew anymore and this 11 o'clock Betty Bye time, I'm passing out at 10 o'clock every night. I'm not taking advantage of the fact that I can just go do what I want. Because, I'm still on this hour time zone shift, and it's just 1 hour. So at 10 o'clock at night right now, it feels like 11 o'clock because of the time zone shift. And I always go through this every year when we set these stupid clocks back and forth for daylight savings time back and forth. It takes weeks for me. The older I get, the worse the time shift and the daylight savings time and all that nonsense affects me. And I'm not the only one who goes through that. But when it comes to writing a book about all of this, nobody wants to read a book unless it has a happy ending. If the plot was Adam was living the dream, said some dumb shit online, went to prison, and ended up homeless, the end, it's not going to be a bestseller in the motivational and productivity section at Barnes & Noble. And it's not even going to be interesting enough for the crime section, the true crime section at Barnes & Noble. So, I mean, mean tweets doesn't... if the book title was mean tweets, like, nobody's going to buy it. So it is in the back of my mind to do something like that. But to be honest, doing these videos on YouTube and elsewhere, it's basically the modern equivalent of writing a book. And to be honest, more people pay attention to video than read anymore. And when it all comes down to it, the possibility of making money is probably stronger doing video and other media online than just writing a book. A lot of people don't read anymore. Let's see. I'm Snowden, I think is the screen name. How do you see life of perpetually homeless people now that you see that there is an abundance of food and cash given to them every month without paying tax? How motivating is it for a New Yorker to get a job at $15 an hour when you will then have to pay tax and pay for food from that check? I'm like, hold on. I think this dude I think you need to slow your roll here for a minute. An abundance of food and cash is not quite accurate there. No, I never went hungry the whole time I was homeless. Those benefits do run out. I think I just saw something because I got some stuff in the mail about it yesterday. I think you're allowed to collect those for 24 months before they cut you off. That's 2 years. But you got to go through all of that stuff. You have to be looking for a job. You have to be doing this. You have to report to them once, twice, 3 times a week. You know, it's not necessarily free money. There's a lot of hassles that go with it. In terms of the amount of money, that's public knowledge. Anybody who, that's not hard to find how much you actually get. In Jamestown right now, for food stamps, you get about $290 a month, give or take a few dollars. And now if you had a place to live and you could go grocery shopping with $290 per month, that can go quite far. And this is for a single person. I don't know what they do if you have a family. I think you might get more if you have kids and things like that. But $290 a month for food stamps. But when you're homeless and you're stuck with prepared foods and things that you don't need to carry around and have storage for, your options are pretty limited. And it becomes more expensive to feed yourself when you can't just go grocery shopping and stock up. You know, I can spend $60 at the grocery store and get a week's worth of food and have food left over at the end of the week. And that's just for me. But $60 a week on food stamps when you're eating nothing but prepared foods and food that you have to eat right when you buy it, it's not going to go quite as far. You know, when you're homeless, you're stuck, like I said, with the prepared foods and all of that. At the homeless shelter, you're not allowed to bring food or drinks inside with you. You can't bring a bottle of Gatorade. You can't bring in a bottle of iced tea. You can't bring in any food with you. Now, after I had been there for a while and they put me in a private room at the homeless shelter, they had a little bit more relaxed rules where I could bring things like snacks and non-perishable foods, and I had a desk in this private room, and I had a drawer with snacks in it, peanuts and chocolate-covered peanuts and, you know, Snickers bars and Cheetos and whatever, but, you know, nothing healthy, nothing really healthy. It was just, for me, I literally ate 3 meals over and over and over and over and over again on the EBT card, and these were the meals that I was purchasing. An 8-inch sub and a bottle of iced tea from the local Farm Fresh Foods grocery store. Chicken salad croissant sandwich and an orange juice from 7-Eleven. And a 12-inch pizza and an iced tea from the Brick City convenience store. And honestly, the pizza is probably where most of the weight gain came from over the time that I was homeless. Even though I only did that once a week or less. You had to buy a whole 12-inch pizza in order to put it on an EBT card. You couldn't just buy a couple of slices. They wouldn't let you do that. So I would only stop there if I was hungry enough to eat a whole pizza, but I did it about once a week. Now on the flip side, for cash assistance, you get $190 a month, give or take a few bucks per month. So, you know, you get more money than that when you're on unemployment. I think it was like, I think when I was on unemployment, the last time I was on unemployment after losing a job, and this would have been in 2019, I was getting maybe $2,000 a month on unemployment, just from unemployment. Now, when you're on cash assistance on an EBT card, you get $190 a month on top of the $290 in food stamps. So you're getting just under $500 a month total funds from the government. Now, the illegals, the people that come into the country illegally, they're getting EBT cards with $15,000 in cash assistance and, you know, and $5,000-$6,000 worth of food stamps loaded on the cards. If you're not a United States citizen and you're here illegally, they're giving you 20 grand. Here you go. Go to the store, have at it. But when you're a citizen, you're getting about $500 a month, and there are a lot of strings. When I was on unemployment collecting the $2,000 a month, you know, you get about $500 a week. You have to pay taxes on unemployment. So you're not even really getting that much because they're going to take a chunk of that away from you. But when you're when you're on unemployment, the requirement to keep unemployment in Pennsylvania anyway was you had to be able to prove that you applied to 5 jobs every week. 5. If they sent you a letter saying you have to go to this class or you have to go to this thing or that thing, you would have to go or they would take it away from you. One time they made me go to the local unemployment office to take some dumb class about how to do your resume, how to do a job search. It was like just this basic thing, and you're there for 3-4 hours and then you get to go home. And you don't have to go back. It was just a one-day thing. And you did not have to report to them other than filling out a form online every 2 weeks to collect. You had to file a claim every 2 weeks to get your check. And you basically had to say, yes, I'm looking for a job. No, I didn't refuse a job when work was available. And if you did have a job, like a part-time job where you had income coming in, you'd have to report it, and you were allowed to make a certain amount of money and actually keep your benefits. And so, but it was very easy to do. To do your bi-weekly reports to them would take 5 minutes in front of a computer, and you're done. And you had to do that once every other week. With social services, to get your $500 a month and the food stamps and the $300 in food stamps and the $200 in cash assistance, you have to jump through a lot of hoops. I'm talking 3 appointments a week to have to drag your ass down to the downtown Jamestown and go see this person, go see that person, go to this thing, go to that thing. Hours every week. You have to show that you applied to at least 20 jobs every week. You have to show that you spent 20 hours applying for jobs. Not just apply to 20 jobs, but you have to show and document that you spent 20 hours doing it. Every week. It was intense. It was way more intense than collecting unemployment. And that whole job search requirement was so you could get $200 a month. that had nothing to do with the food stamps. That had to do with the $200 a month that they're giving you. So you have to show them that you're looking. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with looking for a job and spending 20 hours a week looking for a job when you don't have a job is not extremely difficult to do. But when you're trying to do other things and be productive and kind of, they get you into this mindset, at least for me, it was about quantity over quality. So I'm applying to jobs left and right just so that I get my requirement filled every week, knowing that most of these jobs on LinkedIn that I'm applying to aren't going to go anywhere. Now I'm sitting here in Texas and I see good job leads that are quality job leads, and now I can take the time to apply to them the right way without having to feel like I'm rushed and like I'm trying to. Now I can do quality over quantity, and it's going to go a lot farther. So that's how much you get like I said, you get under $500 a month, unless you're an illegal alien, then you get 20 grand to play with. We did get fed twice a day at the homeless shelter. If I were in a more desperate situation, I would have had various food pantries to go to in Jamestown if I was willing to walk to them at the times that they serve their meals. And most of my eating decisions were based on time. I needed several hours every day to do the things I was doing, and I ate in order to maximize the time I had to get things done. Sometimes I would eat one of the 3 EBT card meals and skip dinner at the shelter. Cash assistance, like I said, $190 a month. I was on, I think I collected it for 3 months. I don't know if I got anything the first month. I think I got 3 payments over the course of, or they pay you every other week, $90-something and some change every 2 weeks. And so I probably collected that for 6 weeks. I used it to buy new boots when I needed some boots. I used it for things that I needed, like my charging cable for my MacBook. It was like $35. I used it for this phone clamp that I'm using to shoot these videos with. And sometimes if the food stamps were running low for the month, I would use it for that. Now aside from EBT, I paid out of pocket for iced coffee from Tim Hortons and the nasty McDonald's food when I needed to go somewhere and use the Wi-Fi. And that came from the chicken bucket donations for the most part. So I thank everybody who helped out with that. You guys, man, that stuff added up over the course of 4 months. And I sat down last week and I have $59 worth of transactions that I have no idea, like cash, that I have no idea where it went. And I do think that 50 of that I don't have a receipt for it, but I think I know where it had to go. And it was part of living in the homeless shelter. If the way it works and the way social services works, if you have any money to your name above and beyond $100, social services won't give you any assistance when it comes to having a shelter. They tell you you have to go and spend all your money and be broke before we'll help you with the shelter part of it. So four things social services does is they give you the food stamps, and they give you that right away. The cash assistance that I talked about, health insurance, and shelter. With the shelter, you've got to be flat broke. You've got to have less than $100 to your name before they will help you out with your shelter needs. If they think that you can afford a night at a hotel, they'll make you go. They'll tell you to go spend a night in a hotel and blow that money on a hotel room, and then come back tomorrow. So, because I had a couple $100 to my name when I started on social services, I went to the homeless shelter because the social services people wouldn't help, but the homeless shelter was asking people who were in my situation to pay $50 a week to stay there. So I made a number of payments to them until I ran out of money, and then social services took over. And so I think that one of those payments is where 50 of that $59 went, but I don't have a receipt to prove it to myself. So, so if that is the case, there's $9 in cash that I don't know where it went, and it probably went to a couple iced coffees or something like that where I didn't get a receipt. Let's see. Like I said, the government assistance, $500 a month in food stamps and EBT cash. I was able to save some of that, some chunks, and I used that money to help me move across the country. I ate 2 meals during the 4 days it took me to move without using my EBT card. And it was fast food garbage, mainly because where I was, the options were limited. But the rest of my meals came from EBT food stamps. I was eating some healthy wraps and just things like that. I'd stop at a gas station or a grocery store and grab some food for a meal so that I wouldn't have to go to fast food. I was using my EBT card as much as possible. And that stuff, the EBT stuff, the cash and the food stamps that you get, it's a national program, so you can use that card anywhere in the United States that accepts EBT cards as payment. It goes right through, just like a credit card. Trying to think, but when you move out of state, they will disconnect you from the system. You're not gonna, my card still works. I still have money on the card, but they're not putting any more money on the card since the day I left Jamestown. If I want to get back on the dole, I would have to do it down here in Texas. And right now I don't need to. So I'm done with that. I don't got to deal with any of that. And I don't want, hopefully I never have to do that again. Hopefully that's the lowest I've ever been in life. But like I said, I was able to save some chunks of that, and I was able to use the money to help pay for the move. And I was able to make, so far I've made 3 grocery shopping trips with the remaining funds on my EBT card, the food stamps. And I still have enough money left on that card to pay half of my next grocery store bill. So right now I'm stocked up on food and such that I'm not going to need to do that for another week. But all of the groceries that I've bought since I got to Texas, I've made a few grocery store trips. One just to get started, the next one to get the things I forgot, and then the next one just to replace the stuff that got used. So I'm not going to need it for at least another week, and my next grocery bill is going to be at least half paid for by EBT card, and the rest of it will be from me. Let's see. Blue Sky 7704 said yes on the accounting tutorial. I think I could do a video about that. It would help me get situated to where I can do screen sharing videos and do tutorial videos because I want to do photography and photo editing tutorials on a separate channel. And if I did a video about how to set up an accounting tool with a free tool called Notion, it would help me get the things in place that I need to be able to do Photoshop training and you know, Photoshop Bridge and Lightroom training. So I'll share a link with you specifically to the tutorial that I used to get started on this, but I modified my own version of the accounting system based on the things I needed to track. But this guy's version of it was being used for his business, and mine is more of a combination of personal and business. And I started this like maybe not even a week after getting out of prison, because I just had this in my head. I need to meticulously track the money coming in and the money going out. In my previous life before my arrest, being meticulous about that helped me improve my credit score tremendously. I had some bad credit for a period of time, and I was able to really nail down and improve my credit score, stop being late paying bills, and just it kept me organized. And it even helped me in terms of detecting some fraud on a couple of credit cards that I might not have noticed had I not been paying so close attention and actually meticulously tracking everything the way I was. But I would highly recommend, if you want to learn how to do this in Notion, you should already have a solid knowledge of working with spreadsheets in order to be able to understand how to do it in Notion. And it's a little bit more complex than Excel or Google Spreadsheets, but it's not radically more complicated. It's just a little more complicated than Google or Excel because there are certain formulas and certain linking of relational databases together. For example, you'll have a transactions database, and you'll have an accounts database, and you'll have a payees database. That's basically 3 separate spreadsheets, but a database is more powerful than a spreadsheet. And then you're linking these together. So when you enter a transaction, you're marking an account that the transaction's with, and you're setting a payee from the payees database, and you may have to add a new payee, or how many times did I go to Tim Hortons? I know. I know, other than the times I paid cash and didn't get a receipt, I know exactly how much money Tim Hortons got from me over the 4 months I was homeless, and it had to be done. I needed the Wi-Fi, so thank God I never have to go there again. But I would certainly recommend having a solid knowledge of Google Spreadsheets, Excel, or any other spreadsheet tool before digging deep into this. And I also used as a reference when I was building my own an app called YNAB, YNAB, which stands for You Need a Budget. It's an accounting tool for personal accounting. It has a very robust budgeting system that to be honest, I don't understand it. I don't like it. I never used it for the budgeting side. but the account management side and the accounting tools of keeping track of how much money's in your accounts and where the money's going and how the money's moving back and forth. You know, you pay from your checking account, you pay a credit card, and you're keeping track of all of these accounts, balances, upcoming bills that you pay on a regular basis, and all of those kinds of things. It's great. It's very much like the old school Quicken and Microsoft Money used to be back in the day. And, you know, it fully supports doing everything manually, which I highly recommend. Modern accounting software that's out there now, almost all of it wants you to automate everything and import all of your transactions from the banks automatically. And it's a mess. It's a complete mess, and it defeats the whole purpose of doing it manually, which is to force you to see what you're doing. You know, I can tell you I caught mistakes. I noticed fraudulent transactions, and I was able to keep my bills paid on time and know what's coming up over the next few weeks or a month or 2 months, etc., because I was doing this all manually, and therefore it's in my head. And if you're using automated tools to do all of this stuff, it's really no better than just winging it and looking at your ATM receipt or your online banking balance once in a while to see, oh, how much money do I have? And you're really not paying attention to where it's all going, and you're not seeing certain things that will help you, like, whoa, I'm spending way too much in this, you know, I'm spending way too much money at Tim Hortons, I gotta cut back. That kind of stuff. So yeah, I could do a tutorial about that. Probably 2 hours. Viral Shedding Zombie 5324 asks me, will you ever be able to own firearms? Not if they don't change the law. If you're convicted of any felony at all, whether it's violent, whether it's a financial crime, whether it's anything that's a felony, you are banned from owning a firearm for the rest of your life, and that is nationwide. You get 10 years in federal prison if you get caught with a gun or ammo or anything firearms related that's on a list that they're going to give you. 10 years in prison. I could get 10 years in prison for being caught with a bullet in my pocket. And the judges are quick to hand out those 10-year sentences to anybody who was a convicted felon who gets caught with a gun. It's pretty much a guarantee. I know people who got a DUI when they were 21 years old who can never own a gun again. So keep that in mind. Unless they change the laws to say, you know, if you've done your time and you've paid your debt to society, you can be allowed to protect yourself again. And I think, you know, in some cases, you know, if you have an extensive criminal history and extensive of violence and armed robbery and crimes with guns and things like that, you know, maybe you deserve to, okay, we're done here. Get no more guns for you. But, you know, I was in prison with a lot of people who, you know, cooked the books on their accounting software that I was just talking about. And they're never allowed to own a gun again because they committed a financial crime. I don't know if that's fair. I don't believe it is. You know, but once again, you know, when you hear the term people deserve a second chance, that's basically someone's polite way of saying you don't deserve another chance. They're just trying to be nice because they're uncomfortable being around you. Let's see. Reggae James says, Adam, I'm glad you're doing well. I wanted to reach out with a few thoughts as you settle in with your friend. It's great that you have a supportive place to stay, but I also want to gently remind you that guests, like fish, can start to stink after a few days. I know it's a transition period, but it might be good to think about how long you're imposing on your friend and his family. I understand you've been keeping track of things like what you ate or how much you spent on coffee when you were in the homeless shelter, but I think it might be more helpful to focus on the present. Finding a job, any job, should be your priority right now. Getting back on your feet will not only help you feel more independent, but also ease the burden on your friend and his wife. I'm rooting for you, Adam. You've got this. Let go of the past. So I would say, don't take this the wrong way. I know you weren't trying to be douchey in your comment, but if you think I'm sitting on my ass doing nothing, you would have only been correct for a period of 4 days, starting the first whole day I showed up in Texas, where I did take 4 days completely off, and all I did was eat simple meals and watch Star Wars while my friend and his wife and family were out of town. Right now, I have a job interview this weekend. I might have 2. I'm waiting to hear back from the second one that asked me for my availability. I'm working on 2 freelance websites. I'm making good money for that work. Way more money than I would working some minimum wage or, $15 an hour job. I have not even done anything with my hard rock brand website, but when these freelance websites are finished, I'm going to have a portfolio to use there. As of today, I might be starting yet another freelance web design and marketing project, which will put 3 on my plate. And also making good money for that. I also paid off my fine to the federal government for the thing I went to prison for. Fine is paid in full. It's done. Let's see. So that's another thing I don't have to worry about. Made the probation officer really happy. So now when I do go find a place of my own or get a vehicle or both, I don't have that hanging over my head anymore. It's paid off. It's done. Out of my life. And honestly, that made the probation officer even more friendly with me when he saw that I'm not fucking around. He was really friendly with me the last time I saw him. And he was really glad to see that I paid that fine, and because I wanted to hold on to some of that money and make payments on the fine, but he strongly suggested that if I have the money, just go pay it. And so trading one set of problems for another, fine, I paid it off. I keep saying that if God tells me I got to put money out for something, he's going to give me the money back in some fashion, and that's happening. It's moving like that. It does kind of get under my skin a little bit when I perceive that people are outright accusing me of being lazy when I'm being productive for 60 or more hours a week, and I meticulously track what I'm doing, not only for my own benefit, but because so many people have been up my ass since the day I got out of prison that I feel like I have to track everything at a high level. And so as soon as I get any job that has a regular paycheck, before I even get my first paycheck, I have the ability to go find my own place and or get a vehicle, or at least one of the 2 things, whichever one's more important and needs to be taken care of first, and that's going to depend mostly on the distance that I have to go to get to a job. If I can get a remote job where I work from home, boom, I can get both of those things done in the blink of an eye and get out of here. If you think I want to live at somebody else's house for an extended period of time, I think you're mistaken. But it definitely beats being in a homeless shelter and having to go to the library, Tim Hortons, and McDonald's every day to sit and do work online. That's for sure. But like I said, I know you weren't trying to be hostile with your comment, but a lot of people have made very hostile comments like that towards me. And I'm not getting angry, I don't lose sleep over it, but there's something about that particular dig that gets under my skin. And it has a lot more to do with the fact that I've been accused of being lazy since the day I came home from prison. Literally the day I came home. And being screamed and yelled at by someone about it without ever having a chance to do anything about it. And then when I started meticulously tracking everything I was doing, the person screaming and yelling at me didn't even want to hear it because, I was going to turn around and say, look, if I'm putting 50 to 60 hours a week into trying to get my life back together, how are you going to sit here and call me lazy? Get over it. And I can show you, I can show anybody else. I can back it up in explicit detail, down to the number of coffees that I drank at Tim Hortons. And everything I've done. I'm meticulously tracking my time. I started doing that in the last month with spreadsheets, just because I was curious about, how much time am I spending on my YouTube channel versus searching for a job and doing these other things that need to be done. And I kind of wanted to make sure I was, on track. I can show you in great detail. I'm not going to, but I can. And the people who have seen it, the people who have seen these things that I'm talking about, they're not accusing me of being lazy. They're like, wow. Like, it's the exact opposite when somebody actually sees what I'm doing. But there are so many situations where people just want to accuse me of being lazy without me being able to and I don't need to defend myself because I don't give a shit what people think about me. But there are certain people in my life who can make my life miserable if I can't back up what I say. So not only am I doing this for my own benefit, but for the benefit of my sanity. If I get put to the task, how many job applications did you fill out this week? 22 local job applications for jobs that I can walk to here in the past week. I have 2 interviews. Well, one solid interview. The other one, they asked me for my availability to do an interview. And so, you want to challenge me, you want to put me to the test. If you are someone who can make my life miserable because you think I'm not doing anything, let's sit down and have a talk, and we're going to sit in front of a computer screen and I'm going to show you what I've been up to, and then you're going to fuck off because you're going to see that I'm not lazy. Anyway, so these are the responses to the comments I got on the last video that I posted. And now I have a comfortable workspace. I'm sitting right in front of my computer. I'm looking down at my screen sometimes as I'm talking to you, looking at my notes. My phone's right there. Boom, everything's right in front of me. If I had to go to the bathroom right now, I can just get up and go, come back, sit down, and it feels so good. That feels so good. That's probably one of the best things about this whole situation, is that I can just sit and work. I got a nice little workspace set up here. I've got 3 computers in front of me. I got another screen over here. I got myself a mouse pad yesterday because I don't usually use them, but there's a reason I needed to get one for this desk. Whatever. It's a very comfortable place to sit and work. Almost, it doesn't quite feel. I had a very nice office when I was arrested, and I had a sunroom that I also worked out of that had a temporary office set up for the summer that I would tear down in the winter. Very comfortable place to work. So this isn't quite there, but this is good enough. Way better than what I've been through over the last few months. And so anyway, those are the comments to the last video and my responses to them. I have a comfortable workspace. I need to continue getting caught up on a lot of stuff. I don't think I can do a video every day right now, but that is the regular videos are the goal. And if quality over quantity is where I want to go with the direction of things. So if I'm doing fewer videos, at some point the quality will get better. I lost about a week of my life to the move, and as smooth as it was, it exhausted me for a lot of different reasons, but everything has been good so far, and everything's been smooth. I have all the things that I was worried about never came to pass. Not one single thing on that whole list of things that I was worried about towards the end of being homeless, that, I said I had to cross off all the items on this list before I can relax. Well, they're crossed off, all of them. As of today, the last one was crossed off. That was stressing me out. It's like a whole different world right now. And the whole world's now in front of me, and, all I have to do is move forward and see where this all goes, and it feels good. Don't really have too many complaints about anything so far. Like Texas, the weather's great. The weather is great. I have not taken enough advantage of it and being outside enough to really dig into that. But I am very much looking forward to the fact that come February, I'm going to be walking outside in a t-shirt and shorts for most of the month. You know, we might get some 30 degree, 20 degree days here and there, but there's also going to be 75 and 80 degree days mixed in with it, and I'm fine with that. It's not going to be 6 feet of snow and 20 below zero like it's going to be in Jamestown. Whew. Everything has been a good experience so far. No real complaints. And I'll continue to post these video updates as I keep moving forward. And I'll try to move in a direction for the content of this channel. This channel is going to be just more talk and just stuff like that. But I do want to start figuring out how to do a second channel talking about photography and photo editing and all that kind of stuff. But life, you know, life's going to dictate a lot of that. And so with that, I'm going to let you all go. We're over an hour. I didn't want it to be this long, but I wrote down some things I wanted to talk about based on your comments on the last video, and I'm through it, and I got nothing else to talk about, so I'll talk to you again certainly within the next week. Peace out. Hope y'all have a good one.